Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. Welcome to this press conference by Ambassador Dian Triansyah Djani on Indonesia's presidency in the Security Council for the month of May. Ambassador Djani will provide you with the overview of the professional program of work in May. And we also have today with us the Indonesian Deputy Permanent Representative, Ambassador Musin Sihab, and our political coordinator, Roliansa Sumirat, and you can call him Roy. And now I would like to give the floor directly to Ambassador Djani. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. First of all, it's an honor for me to be here today with colleagues. It's not every day that I sit here, and certainly looking forward to have a nice exchange of views. Once again, to warmly welcome colleagues. We'll try to brief. I should not read this thing because I'm getting. As you are quite aware that we have adopted the professional program of work as this morning. Alhamdulillah. So and I think it's you have already have it in front of you. I'll just provide a glimpse of where we are going with it. First of all, our presidencies, we wanted to run a very smooth presidency. We are not planning any field visit or mission, simply because we think that it's time for us to focus on the work of the council and also to provide time for colleagues that are chair of subsidiary bodies to undertake their respective visit if they want to do so. But one thing for sure, in the work program, we are going to have a retreat. Actually, this is the Secretary General retreat, which will be starting tomorrow. And I think the Office of the Secretary General will give more information on that. In the case of our presidency itself, we're planning to have two open debates. The first one is on the 7th of May. This is on peacekeeping. We wanted to focus more on the training and capacity building. And precisely the point for us, this is an important issue. We wanted to bring the team to the presidency on investing for peace. That's the main idea, so to say. We think that there are still a lot of discussion that can be done in trying to enhance the peacekeeping mission, and precisely the point that our minister will chair that open debate, and the Secretary General is scheduled to brief the meeting. And we wanted to also bring this nuance of what is expected from the troops in the ground. And because of that point, we are bringing the force commander from MONUSCO, at least to give a glimpse of what is expected from the peacekeepers itself. So linking both the policies type of approach from the council itself and what is expected from the peacekeeper. So that's going to happen on the 7th of May. And another open debate, I think is an important one also, is with the theme on protection of civilians in armed conflict. I think this is also to commemorate the 20 years that this particular issue has been brought forward into the Security Council, and this is also in line with the 70th anniversary of the 1949 Geneva Convention. So we're trying to have a discussion on this protection of civilian in armed conflict. So I think that is the main, and once again, the Secretary General will be briefing the debate, and my minister will be presiding over that. It's a ministerial open debate, and of course we're trying to bringing also the ICRC, the president of the ICRC, as well as civil society. In this on the 7th of May open debate, also we're bringing civil society as a briefer. So, but what we wanted to achieve is at least in this course of our presidency to have more interaction. Aside from that, on our part, we are thinking of having an area formula on the issue of Palestine, particularly focusing on the issue of settlement. That will happen on the 9th of May. Other than that, the usual mandated work that the Council should done. There's this issue of Bosnia, which is a 6-month report. There are meeting on Libya as well as Sahel, G5 Sahel. I think this is an important point also that we had the visit of the Council 2 months ago under the presidency of France. There's going to be a joint briefing on the 21st of May, which is on the Committee of 1267 and 1540 and 1373. So bear with me. I'm supposed to be speaking on as different hats. I think 3 hats there. So I don't know what I'm doing, but I think that's an important part. So I'm trying to make it as succinct as possible. So that, but the point is that providing the opportunity for this committee to have a joint briefing. There's also going to be discussion on the Middle East. Yemen is also scheduled, and other than that, there are several mandates that are ending on this May. At least 4 in our calculation. There is UNISFA, AMISOM, as well as UNAMI, and also the South Sudan sanction, which will expire. So we will have to come up with a resolution in this regard. So I think I've covered many points. Speaking on behalf of Indonesia, I just would like to highlight for us, we're trying to conduct this presidency in the most smooth of way. We are trying to use our culture. We are trying to use our diplomacy. Hopefully everything will go as fine as possible. And we're trying to find unity in the council and trying to find consensus. So I don't know. I'm not going to go to every date here and there because it's already there, and I think you can easily look at it. So with that, I give back to you, Yvonne.
Thank you, Ambassador. And now the floor is open for questions. Before that, may I just kind of remind everyone to identify yourself? And of course, the first question, Edie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. On behalf of the United Nations Correspondents Association, welcome. Thank you for doing this. And we hope you will come to the stakeout outside the Security Council every time the Security Council meets. My name is Edith Lederer from the Associated Press. My question is on Venezuela. Have you gotten any requests for any kind of meeting? And what will the Security Council be doing to follow the unfolding events?
Can we just take several more questions and then... Yes, Edie?
We actually prefer to do one at a time in this briefing, in this format.
You want everyone to be happy, Ambassador.
Thank you.
The floor is yours.
That's the motto of our presidency. We want to make everyone happy as possible, except the president. Yes, Eddie, thank you very much once again. On Venezuela, let me speak. I think everyone is following the situation very clearly, and I think on your question whether there has been any request until today, because this is the first day that we are in the presidency. So far, we have not yet received any request to have any meeting. What will Security Council follow up on the event? Well, I can speak on behalf of Indonesia, but we are monitoring the situation very closely. I'm in consultation with my ambassador in Caracas and trying to find out what's happening. We want, of course, like others, we would love to see everyone exercise restraint. And once again, from my statement in the council, we certainly would like to have dialogue. We want to have a solution, and once again, never take the eyes out of the million of refugees. I think that's an important point that should be addressed. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, next question, I go back, James.
James Bays from Al Jazeera. May is not just the Indonesian presidency. Next week is the start of the holy month of Ramadan. You remember last year, a subject that's on the Council's agenda, Afghanistan. There was that ceasefire. Talks are underway again in Doha. Ambassador Khalilzad is there. Your foreign minister has been there. Can you confirm that she has met Mullah Brother of the Taliban, apparently in the last 24 hours? And can you give us, probably from Indonesia's perspective, because I know you're not having a meeting about it, what you think the prospects are for peace in Afghanistan right now?
Yes, thank you very much, James. I have not yet received any information on that particular issue, to be frank. But, you know, we as Indonesia, I'm speaking on my own national capacity, we wanted to help. That's precisely the point that we took the initiative to become the co-pen holder in this with Germany. Of course, we have been trying our utmost even to have, the development. We're trying to put people together in the sense and trying to find some breakthrough. But once again, I have not yet received information whether there has been any meeting for my foreign ministers.
I'll come back to you.
Thank you, Ambassador. Michelle Nichols from Reuters. Two questions. I see there's the ICC Libya meeting next week. Will the prosecutor be appearing in person, and are you aware of, has she received a visa to enter the US? Are you aware of any issues with her travelling here? And second one, you talk about wanting to find consensus on the council. As chair of the Al-Qaeda and ISIS Sanctions Committee, you had some consensus this morning. Perhaps you could, for the benefit of television, perhaps you could tell us what happened with that.
On the ICC Libya, the information that I get from the secretary that she will be participating. And on the question of the consensus, yes, Indonesia came into the council with the platform of trying to find consensus, trying to find a united Security Council. And on our humble way of doing things, we can report to you, at least I could report as, should I use the chair of the committee? As chair of the committee, I think you know that as of 9 o'clock, we have listed, and I think this is already in the website of the UN. So the most important part is that I would like to thank all the members of the committee that has worked very hard. I think a consensus decision has been taken, where everybody has participated. And once again, as chair, we have done our job in trying to facilitate consensus. The committee is working under strict guidelines. We like to help in our humble way in trying to solve some issues. I think I'll leave it at that. The main thing is that there is a decision, and it's already listed.
And just to follow up, the ICC prosecutor, she'll be here in person?
Well, the information that I received is confirmed will participate, but we have to check again once again. So let it be like that.
Okay. Next question. Can I just move a little back to, the back? Yes, the gentleman there.
My name is Masood Haider. I'm from Dawn newspaper of Pakistan. My question is about Palestine. That you're having a debate now, we know, on 15th. But situation in Gaza in particular is getting, now that Ramadan is approaching, is getting bad to worse because Israelis are stopping some fishing and so on and so forth. As it is, there's a blockade over there. So what is it that the Security Council, which has not been, I've not seen much happening in the Security Council as far as Gaza and West Bank and the Israeli and the Palestinian question concerned. Can you please tell us what is going to happen about this particular situation that now exists in Gaza following this Israeli blockade of this particular territory? Thank you.
Sorry. I forgot I have a moderator there. Thank you for that question. And I think that the agenda is quite clear that we are going to have this discussion on the Middle East, as you mentioned, on the 15th of May, as well as, on the 22nd, you're talking about the Palestine. It's a 22nd briefing on the Middle East. This is the issue of Palestine. So, well, I can only speak on behalf of Indonesia. We, of course, our position is very clear on this issue of Palestine. We wanted to have some result. We want to make sure that Resolution 2334 is faithfully implemented. But if you're asking on the blockade and once again, it's up to the whole council to try to find a solution, and not only the council itself, but also the membership. So. Once again, I don't know whether I can answer your question, but at least in the viewpoint of Indonesia, we wanted to ensure it has been a priority for us, simply because it has been since the issue of the independence of Palestine has been in the agenda of the Bandung Conference since 1955. So for us, we wanted to have internationally agreed parameters. We want to ensure that the two-state solution come into being, and we keep on working toward some solution.
All right, next question, Yoshita.
Thank you. I'm Yoshita Singh with Press Trust of India. This is a follow-up on the question on the listing of Masood Azhar today. It's a highly significant development. It took 10 years of efforts by India and its allies to get to this decision today. The Indian Ambassador Syed Akbaruddin, in his statement, has thanked you for your efforts in ensuring that the process went on smoothly. In a statement, he said that. Can you shed some more light on your role in ensuring that this went through, and also what message this sends on the fight against terrorism globally? Thank you.
Well, as I mentioned, we Indonesians are very humble in the sense that I'm just doing my function as the chair, trying to facilitate, to bring all parties together, of course, in line with the guidelines. And I just would like to underline once again, I think it's not only the function of the chair, but all members of the committee that has been working very hard. So I think it's quite clear on that. What is more important is not the role of the chair, but what is more important is that we have been able to preserve the sanctity and the credibility of the committee, and we have been able to have the listing. So I don't know. I hope that answers your question. Once again, we are Indonesian. We are humble enough.
Gentleman on the back.
Thank you. Ambassador Stefano Vaccara, La Voce di New York, Radio Radicale in Rome. My question is about Libya. What do you think about the migrants that are stuck there in Libya in this moment? That from the government in Tripoli, they calculated there are about 800,000 migrants. And I would like to know if you, your national capacity, you consider them still migrants or refugees at this point. And if you think that the Security Council should address the problem. At that point, the second part of the question is, your national capacity, what do you think about the responsibility to protect? Is something that the Security Council should address, and how should address this issue, the responsibility to protect civilians after what happened in Libya a few years ago, when responsibility to protect was actually the issue that brought the Security Council then to act, to intervene in Libya?
Thank you for that question. On the issue of Libya, I think we have already scheduled a discussion. I think on the 10th of May, speaking on behalf as a president, we are trying to bring Hassan Salami to brief us on what's happening on the ground. I think so. There's already been a a scheduled meeting there. And also there's going to be a consultation aside from a briefing. Now, on the question of how we look at it from our national perspective, we have always taken the stance in the council when way before we entered the council. And this has always been the priority of Indonesia, which is to save life. And this is also in line with your second question. So if you look at all my statement, we try to focus on saving lives. So not putting label here and there, or whether it's responsibility to protect or other type of labeling. But what the most important, at least from our perspective, the council should do is to put the focus on saving civilians' life. And that is the priority for us, Indonesia. The way to do it, that's where diplomacy comes in. I think, as you know, may be aware, well, diplomacy is the art of managing relation, and precisely the point that we're trying to use our diplomacy to achieve that objective. So I don't know whether that's answered your question, but I think to see the perspective from us, Indonesia, we are not grandeur in our approach, but we try to find solution to problems.
All right, next questions.
I think I'm getting too popular here. I'm getting into trouble.
At the front.
All right, thank you very much. It's Ambassador Djani. It's Pamela Falk from CBS News. And I'm going to try just one more round of the same question that we've been harassing you with. The 1267, the designation this morning. In your national capacity, could you say something about whether or not you see this as the beginning of cooperation? We had a briefing by senior administration officials in the United States this morning, or some of us did, where there was some sense that China did the right thing, they said, and that there was going to be more cooperation. How do you see it as in terms of the dynamics of the Security Council? How about that? Thank you.
Every question coming from you, Pamela, is so interesting. No, thank you so much for that question. And I would love to answer that question, certainly. But as chair, you know very well that I'm under very strict guideline that has been decided upon way before I was born. No, I shouldn't joke, but way before. Well, at least for my national capacity itself, you know where our stance is on terrorism, and we have been working very hard with others. We have been a victim of terrorism, and precisely the point that we took this responsibility. I might add that I think we are the only one out of the E10 that are now holding 3 chairmanship. I think that's a lot of work for me. Well, I don't know whether that's a sign of trust, but one thing for sure, trying to answer your question there, is that I think it's time for us to really work together. I mean, all countries, regardless whether it's in the Security Council or in other fora. I think we have been experiencing quite a lot of cases on terrorist attack. And since we have been, 4 months in the Council, we have taken the initiative to come up with press elements. I think we have already done 5 of that. Even the first day that we are in the council, on the 2nd of January, we have come up with a press statement on the attack in Afghanistan. And we continue to do that. And the last one we did is on Sri Lanka and Christchurch, even before people are awake in Christchurch, meaning that because of the time differences here and there. So at least from the viewpoint of Indonesia, we try to do our bits in trying to help in the fight against terrorism. So I think I leave it at that. I can go on and on because on many of the approach.
But yeah, going to the later.
Thank you. Thank you for the briefing, Ambassador. And I must say I tremendously enjoyed visiting your country. Since Edie raised the question of Venezuela, and an extraordinarily brilliant and important report was just issued by Jeffrey Sachs, which appears to be completely ignored, whether intentionally or unintentionally. What is the possibility of having Jeffrey Sachs as a speaker on the humanitarian situation? His report is entitled Economic Sanctions, Collective Punishment of the Venezuelan People. And as I said, it seems to be being ignored. And having him, he's a superb speaker, and having him address the Security Council might make a tremendous difference.
I take note of, I think I'm speaking on behalf of Indonesia. I think that would be a good idea. But once again, everything has to be agreed upon by all the 15 members. I mentioned since the start of our seat in the council, we will listen to everyone. That's why I'm listening to colleagues here, as well as we met with the NGO, we met with many member states. Any good ideas, we'll take that into account and take note of it. Thanks so much. Are we supposed to go until night?
Maybe a couple more questions, and Carol has been, please. Yeah.
Ambassador, I wanted to come back. I'm Carol Landry with AFP. So I wanted to come back to Libya. Can you tell us what is the status of the British draft resolution on the ceasefire? And do you see, the council was very divided. Do you see differences narrowing? Do you think that at this briefing next week, a lot can happen until then, but that the council might come together on something?
Well, I can only say that at present I have not yet received any resolution, as you mentioned. I haven't seen any resolution, so I can only answer in that light, at least from my point of view. So, and on the view of the council, once again, we have a discussion on that. I think last month in the president of Germany, and of course, I think everybody is following closely the development there.
Please.
Mr. President, Mr. Ambassador, thank you for having this press conference. Frankie Ciardo from TRT World. This is a question you could answer as both the President of the Council and in your national capacity. Do you agree with the U.S. position on Golan? And also, do you agree with their position of moving their embassy to Jerusalem when they did?
My answer is quite clear. Our position as Indonesia, and I'm speaking on my national capacity, we have always complied with the resolution of any United Nations resolution, including 2334. And I think that resolution is quite clear on movement of embassy to Jerusalem, including on Golan. There has already been so many resolutions. And I think what needs to be done actually is for all of us to comply and implement faithfully any resolution that we agreed upon. So as simple as that.
Okay. Next one there. Yes, please.
Thank you. George Baumgarten, correspondent for the Astana Times, Kazakhstan, and other media, both domestic and within the U.S. and internationally. If the meeting on the 22nd is going to be devoted to the Middle East, including the Palestinian question, then may I, since your consultations a week early on the 15th are about Yemen, may I assume that meeting is also about Yemen? And with reference to this Abyei meeting, the UNISFA adoption on the 14th, does that mean they're going to renew the mandate? This is this itsy-bitsy square of territory claimed by two bordering countries, and it's been going on and on and on. What hope do you have of accomplishing something there? Thank you. Terima kasih.
Well, we Indonesian is optimistic in everything, and we hope that we could try to do something. But on the question of UNISWA, the discussion is being done on the renewal of the mandate of UNISWA. And yesterday we had consultation, and we'll continue to do that. It's due, I think, in the 15th of May. So certainly one has to have a decision before that time on UNISWA. And that also goes with the other remaining mandate that ends, which is UNAMI, AMISOM, and South Sudan, which will be ending by the end of this month. So that has to have a decision also, whatever the decision may be. And I think consultation will be underway in that regard. Did I catch all the questions? I'm sorry.
No, what about the Middle East meeting on the 15th? Is that relative to Yemen?
Yes.
Since the consultations are on Yemen.
Yes.
Thank you.
15 is on Yemen. Nobody is asking about my batik.
Maybe we can leave that.
It's a nice batik. Thank you, Ambassador. My name is Erol Avdovic for Dnevni Avaz newspaper from Sarajevo, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and also the Publica Press. Very short question on Bosnia. Obviously, you did have today a consultation. Are you going to move to another format on that meeting on 8 rather than only listening to the statements? Some kind of proposal for how to break the vicious cycle of nationalism in Bosnia because it's going for a while. Thank you.
I think I can only say at this stage is that it's been scheduled. Discussion will be using the same format, but of course I'm open to any idea or request from member countries if there is in this regard. So at this stage, it's still going to continue.
Thank you. Evelyn Leopold, and I want to know where we can get this batik. It's lovely, right? Yeah. Okay, and also on Carol's question on Libya, with or without a resolution, are you in your national capacity or as president pushing for a ceasefire? And secondly, are you expanding on Syria at all, since certainly civilians there need a lot of protection?
Yes, in our national capacity, in my national capacity, we always made it clear in all our statement that we want every parties to restrain and not we do not like to see any use of military force in whatever circumstances. So whether it's in Libya, whether it's in other places in the world, and that's what we are doing. And precisely the point also that we have been involved in peacekeeping, in this business of peacekeeping. And I forgot to mention also, that's why we wanted to have this discussion on open debate on peacekeeping, because I think we are the number one peacekeepers in the Security Council at this moment. And we are increasing the number of women peacekeepers. We are now involved in 8 missions with more than 3,000 personnel here and there. So hopefully we could not only make statement but also contribute positively, and we have made it clear in the council also, if need be, we are quite ready to deploy any of our peacekeepers in. Not that we are expecting any conflict in any other places, but if need be, we are quite ready to put our men and women in harm's way. For the sake of peace. So to answer the question, yes, we want for every party to restrain from using military forces here and there. Syria? Everywhere.
I think we can give 2 more questions, and then Margaret, yes.
Ambassador Margaret Bashir with the Voice of America. Ambassador, today the State Department's Special Representative on Iran, Brian Hook, was here in New York and talking to Security Council members. In your national capacity, perhaps, could you tell us, did he press you for stronger action on Iran on ballistic missiles?
I must confess, I was invited, but I was having all this consultation the first day of school, the first day of this. So I was not able to attend the meeting. So I can't answer your question on that one. I hope there's someone going there. It was coinciding with all this.
Okay, don't put that, but yes.
Shall I put that on the record?
Ambassador, thank you for the briefing. My name is Ibtisam Azim from Al Arab Al Jadid newspaper. I have a follow-up regarding Palestine. You said on May 9th there's an area formula. Do you have more information who's going to brief the council? And then on Yemen, what is your assessment regarding the political process now? Are you optimistic that things will move beyond phase one and phase one? Thank you.
Well, on the top of my head, on the area formula, we are inviting a professor from Ohio to brief, as well as human rights lawyers also are coming. So there, but more information we could provide later on, as well as another briefer. But the most important part is to have interactive discussion here and there, and that's we're trying to have in all our program. We try to have as limited briefers so that we can have more interaction between the members. Hopefully, this is another. On Yemen, let me. I think we have clearly scheduled a meeting on the 15th of May, and I know for sure the council is following closely. Speaking on my national capacity, we would certainly want for the Stockholm Agreement to be fulfilled. I think that is also the wish of all the council members. I forgot to mention also during the meeting on Yemen, we have scheduled also a briefing from Martin Griffith, as well as the General Guard. I hope I pronounced it right, as well as USG Mark Lowcott, and that's where we are. And as I mentioned also on Peacekeeper, we have also forwarded our personnel to be part of the what do you call it, UNMHA in Hudaida. So we're trying to help.
Okay, next question. The lady at the back.
Hello, I'm Widat Franco with NHK, Japanese Public TV. I see that you have consultations on 1718 committee on the 30th, but I was wondering if also you are thinking at some point, first of all, what are those consultations about? Is that the regular briefing? And second, have you had any requests to speak about the human rights situation in North Korea?
As I mentioned, this is the first day we are in school in this presidency. But to answer your question on the 30th of May, there will be a briefing by the chair of the 1718 committee. So that is what we have on schedule. I hope that answered your question. I don't see any more. Yeah. Okay. So
human rights.
Huh?
Human rights. Pertanyaan human rights.
Which one? I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, that's what I answered. Since this is the first day that we are in the president, we have not yet received any requests on that issue. Yeah. Actually, there is one important question that I have not answered, which is on where to get the batik. We will certainly. It's easily there is a. I shouldn't say this openly, but let's have a bilateral on that. She's always reminding me to.
Yeah, Ambassador, tell us about your batik dress that you have on. Is there anything unique about it? The one that you're wearing now.
Okay, the batik that I'm wearing is traditional Javanese batik. All of this batik is hand painted. Takes several months. Really, it's. Hand-painted several months, but the philosophy of bringing batik here in the council, that even though we are discussing serious issue, but the most important part is we can also bring colors to the Security Council. And to have a batik shirt being made, it takes patience, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of work, and that's what we are trying to do in our presidency in the council. Bear with us, have a lot of patience. At the end of the day, inshallah, we will be able to achieve, the question Pamela was asking to bring consensus, including in the committee on 1267. So that is what we're trying to bring in our, once again, humble way of doing things.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Good.